Welcome to the Minneapolis Edit. I'm Jen Briggs. Whether you're currently living in the area and trying to figure out what's going on in the Twin Cities, or maybe you're thinking about moving into the area, you're in the right spot. We've got you covered here. Today, we've got lots of great stories for you. We're going to be talking about the Kmart parking lot off of Lake Street in Minneapolis. If you've driven by it, you've probably been wondering what is happening in that area. When is something going to go up on that site? We're going to dive into that in depth today. I read the 121-page development plan, so I've got the deets for you. Deets, that's what the kids say, right? Details. I'm not really a kid anymore. Kid at heart. Anyhow, we've got that. Oh, we're also going to be talking about why Minneapolis was named one of the top cities in the nation to retire in. Maybe surprising for those of you that have always considered being a snowbird, but I could tell you why my mom decided to stay here, and I'll also tell you what the research says about Minneapolis. On top of that, we're going to be looking at what's happening in the Twin Cities. There are a couple of chances to ditch the dating apps. So if you're single or if you have a close friend that's single, we're going to talk about that. A few Halloween events that you can go to if that's your thing, and a sweet little jazz bar that I have been looking for years that I didn't know existed until now. So I'm excited. Let's get right to it. The old Kmart site on Lake Nicollet, if you've driven past there lately, you know that there's, in one sense, something going on, in another sense, not a lot going on, or maybe some things going on that seem a little interesting to you. I would agree with you. And there's been a lot of questions about what's going to be put up in that area. And I know from making decisions, whether it's in leadership or in life, when you're looking at a huge project like this and a potential opportunity and problems that the city has had, it's going to be tough to make a decision that's going to make everybody happy / impossible, because there's no way to make everybody happy. But I'll tell you this, I went down a rabbit hole. I read the full development framework. So all 121 pages. I looked at the community engagement and have kind of distilled that down, the site maps, the whole thing. So I'm going to give you the scoop about what they're doing in the area. I would love to hear your opinions. You can drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about the plan that they put together. So before I tell you what's coming, I want you to understand how we got here, because the backstory of this matters. I mean, I got my notes here, so to make sure I get this right. In 1977, the city of Minneapolis sold 10 acres at Lake Nicollet to make room for that Kmart. So 1977. Now, if you're thinking, why would they do that? That's a great question. That decision actually ended up blocking off the entire area of Nicollet Avenue, which was a major north and south corridor connecting downtown to South Minneapolis. So they just closed it for a parking lot, basically. It killed small businesses on Lake Street. It disconnected neighborhoods. It cut off the pedestrian pathways of walking and biking areas. And the city basically created a little bit of an urban void, a dead zone, if you will, in the heart of this southern part. It's not South Minneapolis, but a southern part of Minneapolis. It didn't take that long for them to realize that they messed up. So in 1989, just 13 years later, the city council formed a task force to study reopening Nicollet Avenue and developing that site in a different way. But they couldn't get the land back. So Kmart held the lease and the site just sat there. Isn't this awful? The site just sat there for decades. So fast forward to June 30th of 2020, which we know was an interesting year to say the least. Kmart officially closed and the city approved a deal to terminate that lease. So the building then sat vacant for 3 more years. In October of 2023, there was a fire at the site, which accelerated demolition in November of 2023. Finally, now after 40 plus years, the city had a chance to fix what had happened on that site. So that's what this new Nicollet is about. That's what they're calling it, by the way. It's not just a new apartment that's coming. It's about connecting the neighborhood that's been cut in half for decades. So here's what I think is somewhat interesting and kind of rare when I was speaking earlier about this. When you make a decision in a position of leadership, especially at this scope, it's pretty hard, if not impossible, to make everybody happy. But here's what the city did. The city didn't just hire a developer and say, build whatever you want. They spent 3 years gathering input from the community, which I think says something. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. There was over 20,000 interactions with residents, business owners, renters, homeowners, families, community leaders. They held meetings, they did surveys, they went door to door, they set up tables and events, and they asked, what do you need? What do you want? And what would make this project actually work for you? I think it says something that the city did that. Here's what the people said were the top priorities. Number one, affordable housing, especially for families. Number two, homeownership opportunities so people don't get displaced. Number three, a grocery store because the area is a bit of a food desert. Number four, small business small business space that local entrepreneurs can actually afford. Number five, public green space that's safe and well designed. And six, sustainability, green buildings, energy efficient, the whole thing. What was the most common theme out of all of that? It was that they needed to build for who is in the community now. The city broke the site into 6 parcels. Each one has a specific purpose, so I'm going to walk you through all of them. And phase 1 includes parcel 1 and parcel 2, which is in the southeast corner right next to where the park is going to be. So parcel 1 is a mixed-use building with about 70 affordable apartments and about 8,000 square feet of retail space. Parcel 2 is another mixed-use building with about 60 affordable apartments, 3,000 square feet for Minneapolis Park and Rec programming, and about 10,000 square feet for community-serving nonprofit. Phase 1 also includes a 2-acre public park in the northeast corner that's going to be designed and operated by the Minneapolis Parks and Rec Board. Parcel 3 is the top priority after Phase 1. This is where the grocery store is going, so 20 to 30,000 square feet, plus about 144 market rate apartments. And that's the anchor of this whole project. You get a grocery store, you drive foot traffic, that helps everything else succeed. Parcel 4 is about 21 affordable home ownership townhomes. So this is again specifically about creating home ownership opportunities for people who have been priced out of the market. Parcel 5 is another 65 affordable apartments, and parcel 6 is another 180 market rate apartments. Okay, so now we're real quick. I'm just going to touch on timeline. You might be wondering when this is all happening. Late 2025, which is now the last quarter of this year, the city is releasing the request for proposals for phase 2026. They're going to select a developer out of those proposals. So if you're a developer and you want to submit a proposal, you can do that. That phase 1 is going to take 3 years, and then they build out the entire site. So we're looking at actually a 10 to 15 year phase of building this entire project. So a huge project. That area has been, I'm going to just say, a bit of a dead zone. It is dead. There's definitely not green space. There's not a lot that's been thriving in that area for decades now. I think it's a project that has been well thought out. I appreciate that they've taken the insight from the community. Again, I know that it's probably not what everybody would want to see there, but I'd be curious to hear your input. Again, drop the comments below and let me know what you think about what they're calling it the new Nicollet development. All right, next up, we are going to talk about how Minneapolis just got ranked as one of the #1 cities in the nation to retire. Now, I've got to say, I love this city. I love the area. I'm a little surprised because I have just assumed that most people go south. They age, they don't want to deal with ice and snow, but there are things, believe it or not, that are overriding the snow and the cold and the ice of the tundra up here. So let's talk about what they are. WalletHub.com was one of the ones that did this study and ranked this city as one of the top in the nation. And what was it based on? It was based on healthcare, culture, and quality of life, and whether or not you can enjoy the quality of life without being necessarily independently wealthy. Interestingly enough, my mom had lived down in Arizona. She was a snowbird. She moved back here. And one of the things that she's noted, she lives a little bit further out in the country. So she enjoys, it's not even a suburb, it's definitely the country, kind of simple life on the porch, sweet little things. And then she comes up to the city and loves the things that she can do. The restaurants, the music, the theater, the culture of the city is so rich, and you just can't get that even in other states, obviously, not just in the country. So Minneapolis, to me, it's one of these sweet cities that offers sort of the best of all of the worlds. Not only that, now I'm kind of going on a tangent here, and right in the middle of the city, we have these lakes that you can kayak and swim and take sailboats on. canoe, paddleboard, obviously, all the sports. And then you can cross country ski and snowshoe and do things like that in the winter as well. So you don't have to drive out in the country to experience nature and green and water. And then we've got all of these rich cultural arts and dining as well. I'm like falling, literally, it's kind of the catchphrase of the Minneapolis Edit, but I'm, even as I'm saying it, falling in love with the city again. We're pretty lucky to be here. When you're comparing that kind of ideal to a lot of the Sunbelt cities where things are spread out, you need a car for everything. Cultural amenities are sort of a hit or a miss. Minneapolis gives you all of that plus 4 real seasons. If you're like me, you also do enjoy the changing of the seasons from time to time. So if you're thinking about where to spend your next chapter, you're thinking about retirement, I'm just going to say don't write off Minneapolis. Maybe consider it. All right. Now, what is happening in the Twin Cities this weekend? I've got some fun things for you. The one that I'm maybe most excited about, which I stumbled across in my research this week, was an event called Pitch a Friend. So if you are single or if you have a single friend, this might be something that you're interested in. I'm kind of obsessed with this concept. This is one of the most creative solutions I've seen for dating app burnout, and it's happening actually twice this week in Minneapolis. Now, if you are on the dating apps, if you've been, I have historically been on dating apps, and there's research on this about just like the swiping endlessly without intention. We also know that a lot of us are disconnected and like siloed and not really engaged in community. So I love this Pitch a Friend that you guys have come up with this concept, and that you're creating an opportunity for people to not just meet potentially the love of their lives, but also go out and connect and have a fun night out. So here's how it works. Instead of swiping on the apps, your friends create a 3 to 5 minute PowerPoint. So they create a PowerPoint presentation and then they pitch you to a crowd of singles. They highlight what makes you great, what you're looking for, funny stories and quirks. It's positive, it's lighthearted. It's not a roast. It's your friends that you genuinely get to hype up. This whole thing actually started in Philadelphia in 2022. It's spread to over 50 cities worldwide, from Knoxville to Oslo to Hong Kong, and it's blown up. Let's be honest, why do you think it's blown up? Because people are tired of the dating culture the way it's been. They want to meet in real life. They want to support their friends. So here's the scoop. The next 2 events that are coming up: Thursday, October 23rd at 6 p.m. at the Lofton Hotel in the Cosmos restaurant. This one is a Vikings fan edition, so they have these little spins on them as well. So everyone being pitched is a super fan. After the presentations, there's a watch party for the Thursday night game with food and drink specials. So even if you're not single, you can go for support with a friend and catch the game. So I'm not gonna go pitch a friend, but me and a friend might go. Maybe she'll find somebody there. I actually have a couple friends that I'm thinking of bringing. Anyhow, the other one is on Monday, October 27th at 7 p.m. at Minneapolis Cider Company. And this one is a Eulogy edition. It's Halloween themed. So your friends celebrate you in a fun, sort of spooky-ish way. They are supposed to pitch you as if you're already gone. So it's like, what would somebody say about you after you're gone? That's the pitch. Both events are free to attend. They're 21 plus. They're LGBTQ plus friendly. You can sign up to pitch a friend at I'm going to link this below. It's pitch-friend.com/Twin Cities, or you can just show up to watch, mingle, and meet people. All right, now for a couple of Halloween-ish type events, if that's your kind of thing, happening this weekend. I did name a few last week, but here's a couple of more. The Goonies, I wouldn't even necessarily call this Halloween, but maybe. The Goonies in concert with the Minnesota Orchestra. I love this idea. So they play the movie up on the screen in Orchestra Hall, and then the Minnesota Orchestra accompanies the movie with the theme music underneath. So that's October 24th and 25th. At the Orchestra Hall. Tickets start at $35, so affordable rate. And if you haven't experienced the orchestra, oh my gosh, I love music so much. No matter what the orchestra is playing, they're so talented. Music is powerful. That's my personal pitch to check it out. The second thing to check out would be a Maple Grove Trunk or Treat. This is free. It's on Saturday, October 25th from 1 to 4 p.m. It's Halloween event, decorated cars, candy, costumes, no tickets required, so you can just show up to that. And then Sundays at the Landmark, there's a great pumpkin Halloween celebration. That's Sunday, obviously. October 26th from 1 to 3 p.m. at the Landmark Center in St. Paul. There's face painting games, a costume parade in one of the most historic buildings. So if you haven't seen the Landmark building, that's a beautiful place to check out. The last thing I want to mention is a place that you can check out. It's not necessarily for this weekend, but it's any time. I just want to highlight it. And I'm eventually going to have to come back and share my review of the place. I actually haven't been there yet, but I've heard great things. And again, I stumbled upon this in my research. So I don't know how many times I've told friends, I just want like a small little bar with some like a jazz combo or a really good little band where you can see them interacting with another and have a nice cocktail or a nice glass of wine, a nice appetizer, and not have it be this crazy loud, but be able to sit and enjoy and watch the band do their thing. And then I came across Berlin. It's a jazz bar. It's in Minneapolis. I definitely think it's one worth checking out. So I just learned about it, as I mentioned. It's an intimate venue in Minneapolis. It has jazz, electronic, and experimental music. Here's what they say about themselves. I love this. We're inspired by the sacred and the subterranean, the fascinating and the funky. Stop by for a show that could only happen here. It's exactly what I've been craving. You've just heard. I love music. I love the big arenas sometime, but this is just a sweet kind of different place to hit up. The other thing, just so they have got some nice small menu items, crispy chickpeas, deviled eggs, warm pretzels, steak, cocktails, wine. It's not a full restaurant, but it's a place where you can grab a bite to eat, like let music soothe your soul and enjoy something to do this weekend. All right, that's it for this week on the Minneapolis Edit. Thank you for joining me. If you have any questions or comments or stories you'd like me to highlight, feel free to comment them below, or you can send me an email at youtube@perfectmatch.properties.com. Also, if you are thinking of buying or selling in the Twin Cities, we'd love you to keep us in mind. You can shoot me an email there at youtube@perfectmatch.properties.com. And I would love to hear from you. Thanks for hanging out with me. I will see you next week.